Hi, Gary here, and welcome to a BookMob. Today I'm going to be talking about what I call immersive reading, or you could call it deep dive reading, and perhaps there's an actual cultural term for that, I don't know, but I call it immersive reading to myself. What do I think immersive reading is? Well, immersive reading to me is when you pick a book or a series of books and you decide to start and keep going, taking time off for your meals, but really making that the whole time, that you expend all your free time in reading through your chosen book or chosen book of a series of books. I know that reading is a very expensive pastime, that it requires a great deal of effort to go against all the other aspects of our culture that draw us in: movies, the internet, TikTok, being sociable, and in a sense, immersive reading is, I guess, extreme sports reading. Okay, that's another term I've coined. Now, I started immersive reading, I don't know, I guess about 15 years ago. I don't do it all the time, obviously, it's impossible. But I do find that if you put yourself and discipline yourself to find a text maybe that you've avoided because of its length or its depth of narrative, and if you want to be able to get through it, isolate yourself, find your own reading space, and get stuck in, you will find that your reading experience is visceral. Your exposure to the characters, to the setting, to the mood, to the genre will just explode. You'll get so much more out of your reading experience. I mean, it will take reading to a level that you haven't experienced before, unless, of course, you've done this. I mean, many of us, at least every single one of us, at least one time in our life, has picked up a book that we can't put down. So I'm not talking about page turners, so to speak. I'm talking about texts that you choose, regardless of their length, because it's not about length all the time, but generally most books that require a lot of time, like 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours to get through, will have challenging aspects to them that make them sit on your bookshelf unread for years. And we all know, if we look around at our bookshelves, how many books have you bought that you just haven't read? So immersive reading is a positive way to tackle a difficult and challenging book that you have put off and need to sit down and enjoy the entire reading experience of that particular text. Now, if you live in Australia and if you've traveled to Europe, for argument's sake, that is the perfect time to immerse yourself in a book or a series of books. If you sit on the plane and you look at that big jumbo that never moves, pick a book, pick a text, immerse yourself in it. Read for 4 hours straight, 2 hours straight, put it away, have a break, pick it up, go for another 2 hours, 3 hours. And you'll find that your mind, that your enjoyment, that your sense of understanding will grow exponentially because you're just focused 100% on getting through and enjoying the text. So what was the date on, let me think, because I want to tell you what I chose for my immersive reading weekend. Well, yeah. So on Thursday the 9th, I received my 3 copies of a wonderful series written by the lovely Polly J. Mordant, and this is her Flammark Series, and there are 3 volumes. The first one is When Angels Fear, where obviously you get introduced to the characters, to the village, to the genre. Book 2, where you get to, where Polly actually understands that you understand what's going on, so she gives you more. And then finally, The Witch and the Faithless, where the relationship, sorry, I didn't hold that up long, where the relationship between all the characters is much stronger, more realistic, and the madness and the demons and the craziness of her narrative comes to life. And I read them one after the other. I was reading maybe for 2 hours, had a half an hour break. I then had another 1 hour or 2 hours. But what I'm saying, a consistent, deep read the whole way through. Obviously, the great thing with reading Polly's books was that they are wonderfully written. The stories are fascinating. They captured your imagination. Emma, the main character, is a beautiful character. As Polly said, she's a warrior, and she sure is. Not warrior, warrior. And she fills the book with this parallel worlds, with religion, with myth, and with, the banality of normal existence. She doesn't lay it on thick. It's, like she basically introduces you to demons and witches and maniacs in such a way that they are believable. And the more you read about Emma and how she struggles with her personal life and with her underworld life, obviously both are parallel. Problems in the real world and problems in the underworld. Romance in the real world, romance in the parallel world. Beautiful stuff. Now, the third book, which I find, there's the character, the witch. Man, Polly's come up with such an excellent sort of graphic display in words of this witch. And I'm not going to tell you, I need you to read the books. I'm just telling you how it made me feel, is that she manages to create a story that you're hooked into. That you basically, so really this was not a disciplined read. It was an actual fact, an enjoyable read throughout. So my video about immersive reading is about not just about reading books that are great. I mean, we're talking about James Joyce Ulysses. If you ever, man, that's a stinker. What about Herman Melville, Moby Dick? So, if you pick a book or a series of books, like I did with Polly's Flammark Series? I hope it is. And so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I read number 1 overnight. I read number 2 in one sitting with breaks, if you know what I mean. Got to have coffee sometime. And I read The Witches as well in one day of total, full, immersive reading enjoyment. It was wonderful. So, I mean, I can obviously recommend Polly J. Mordant's The Witch and the Faithless, or look for book 1 to 3 of the Flammark series. And please, give this a go. If you're going to give yourself a couple of days and say to yourself, I'm going to try immersive reading, and if you're going to try something, well, try this series, all right? Try Polly J. Mordant's books, because you'll find that it's a fun, embellished, immersive, deep dive of a read, and it brings reading up to date with TikTok, with the movies, with video games, and I think reading has been given look, I'm not going to argue that other aspects of our culture have managed to sort of overwhelm reading as such. Though when I go to bookshops, plenty of people buying books. But how many of those books are sitting on their bookshelves and no one is reading them? So read the books. And immersive reading is a great way to get a full experience out of a book. And again, you can choose any topic, any book. And did I mention that if you, say for instance, if you live in Australia and you fly to Europe, we're talking 20, I don't know what it is now, 23, 24 hours, who knows. That is the perfect time to pick up a text or a series of books and go woe to go all the way through. Live the narrative, live the story, know what it feels like to have a visceral reading experience, and I promise you, your mind and your character and your nature will all be all the better for it. So, that's all I have to say about immersive reading experience or deep dive reading, and I hope that maybe one of you out there will give it a go. Look, okay, here's a good one. Take Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, okay? Take that as your first time immersive reading text. It's brief, it's dense, it's a beautiful story, and it's tough, but you can get through it. Now, try, for argument's sake, just try to take that text and immerse yourself in it. Take a day. You can easily read it in a day. That's just my last thing I have to say about immersive reading today. So, before I go, don't forget, Mordant, the Flammark Series. And apparently Polly's working on another trilogy from the same series, I think. But you know what the great thing about that is? I'm actually lucky enough to have organised, well, I will, it's coming in the coming weeks, a talk about books and reading and about Polly's work in the coming weeks. So that should be something fun, and hopefully you guys will stick around and take part in our conversation. All right, that's it for BookMob. Have a great week of reading. Bye.